thought I saw him on. Oh, there we go.
Here, I'm sorry.
Member Collier,
Here.
Member Jailing,
Here.
Member Bowman,
Here.
Member Caldwell,
Here.
Co-Chair Caldwell, sorry. Member Hildreth, Member Alou,
Here.
Member Lemay,
Here.
Member Marshall,
Present.
Member Volmer,
I'm here.
Member Hopper, Member Becker,
Here.
Member Ward, Member Webster, Councilmember Remy, Councilmember Dodwell, Councilmember Flasher, Co-Chair Councilmember Flasher.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a quorum, Madam Co-Chair and Mr. Co-Chair. Thank you.
I think you missed me. Brian Larson's here.
I apologize,
missed-
sir.
I think it was my fault. I was trying to rejoin.
Okay, I got you, and we'll put you in a yes column and not a no.
Right. Are we at the approval of minutes? So I believe the minutes were set out for the November meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Member Corvington. How about a second?
Second.
Thank you, Member Jailing. All in favor, say aye.
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 One opposed, nay. Minutes approved.
Okay, so that takes us to our agenda here, and Kathy was really nice to send out this whole agenda, and it even has some attachments. Kathy, I'm hoping maybe you can pull that first one up for us so we can take a look.
Yep. Give me just a second.
So while she's doing that, Kathy, Maura, myself, and Dr. Remy all had a chance to have a meeting of heads. We really wanted to get a focused goal for our task force here. I think, the last meeting we talked about how we were kind of all over the place, and I think we brought it in a little bit, and now we're ready to have an outline of what our goal is, and if everything goes the way that we think it should go, an end date for this task force as well. So Kathy's brought it up here. February 9th is obviously the meeting that we're having right now. We're going to take a look at the list that we have from before, and kind of discuss where we're trying to focus those things on the list. We're trying to really keep it to non-for-profits that serve Wildwood, particularly ones that are located in Wildwood. The goal being that we can have some sort of a Zoom call with all the leaders of the different non-for-profits where they can tell us about themselves, give us some information so that we can then put together some sort of a catalog or whatever per se, discussing what's out there, I guess, through non-for-profits within our city. And then we want to after finding all that stuff, kind of see what needs are out there that we are missing with all the non-for-profits and everything. And we think that they can maybe discover that on their own together as well. We just want to facilitate that for them. Then we want to have some sort of a college fair type of thing, maybe, where we would have all these not-for-profits together and have people have an opportunity to meet with them, get to know them, kind of see what resources are out there in our city. And we want to facilitate that for them, but we also want to obviously let them do their thing. And that would kind of be the end goal in this whole thing. And then we would also have some sort of potential catalog that would be maintained by to be determined. So does anybody have any questions, or does anyone want to add anything to that from what I just said, Kathy or Maura?
don't know if perhaps it would be helpful to kind of go through how we broke down the meetings after we refocused.
Sure. So today our goal is to, once again, look at what's already on the list and really have this focus of finding things that serve our city, not things that are out of our city, and mainly things that are within our city that are serving our city, because we want to bring attention to what's available in Wildwood. So that's what today's goal is, to talk about that, and then we'll really have a more focused direction as far as what we're putting on the list going forward. Kathy, can you scroll down? Sorry. Then at the following meeting, like it says here, determine information to ask each not-for-profit contact and how to structure the Zoom meetings. So then we're going to kind of organize what our Zoom meeting would look like based off of what's on the list. And we would either have that Zoom meeting before our August meeting, or our August meeting would be that Zoom meeting. I think we kind of need to discuss that ourselves to figure out what exactly we want to do there. But we would have a meeting where we let all these nonprofits meet each other. They all present to us what it is that they do. We gather that information so that, once again, we can kind of see what might be missing in the city. Then August 10th, determine the best format for compiling the information. That's where we have to like really put our heads together and figure out how are we distributing this to the residents of Wildwood, and how do we get that information out there. And then 9th would be the final product, but somewhere in that August to November is when we were thinking maybe we'd have some sort of a college fair, assuming that the COVID stuff is somewhat beyond us. And it might not be the case. It might be that the final product happens when everything is kind of, gone away to some degree, or is a little easier. Does that help? Does that add some clarity for some of the people that have been part of this, have been like, what exactly are we doing? Because I was in that boat. Does anybody have any questions, comments based off of that information? Hopefully you had a chance to look at it yourselves.
Yeah, Dan, this is Amy Vollmer. Have a question. So the plan then is to bring all nonprofits to present to each other, like on one big Zoom call before the in-person college fair type, but we want that one Zoom call to be everyone all together, right?
I think we need to get a real feel for what we have on the list to know if that's even feasible. It might be kind of silly to have, 50 non-for-profits going through one by one by one by one. So we might need to break that up a little bit and kind of focus them in groups so that they can see how they complement each other and how they don't, more or less. Does that help?
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense, because I'm thinking otherwise, like, we have to say, you have 5 minutes, right? You have 5 minutes to explain. And then what happens if we don't get to the people? And it's just, it's going to depend on how many people we have on the list. You're right. If it's 20, probably doable. If it's 50, we're going to have to break it up some way.
Right. And the nice thing about us having this big group that we have is we can break ourselves up too. And a group of us can take certain specific areas and kind of break that stuff down. And then we can have a meeting of heads of ourselves from what we saw from our different categories and groups. Anybody else have a question?
I don't have a question, but I guess more of a comment. I think one of the other goals of the Zoom meeting and the gathering of the nonprofits is we're going to come up with a one-page information form from these groups at this meeting, so that we then have that information for our database or our catalog or whatever we decide to do with that. So that'll also be something, I think it's at the next meeting that we're talking about what we want that to look like. And I lost the other thing, it just popped out of my brain.
So yeah, that's a big one too, is we're going to have to kind of have a meeting of our heads to kind of figure out what it is, what information we want to have from each of these not-for-profits, so that we can present that to the residents of our city appropriately and not leave any holes, hopefully. Does this help you all have a more focused understanding of what the goal is? I'm hoping that's the case, because like I said, I've been confused during a lot of this. You know, I had an idea of what I thought this task force was going to be, and then it's changed, but it's not for the worse or anything like that. It's just changed, and I think we have a really great goal here and something that will be a great resource for our city, which is ultimately what we want to do.
Dan,
So you
is this
set
the
forth a
time you
real
want?
good way forward. I'm sorry, Harry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
No, Dan, I was just going to say, is this the time that if we know of a couple or three that are missing now, that we could jump in and say, I will take those, and so we don't have duplications? Or is that a further item down the road on the agenda?
I think that's more probably the next meeting, or maybe we even kind of conquer some of that stuff via email before the next meeting, since we have such a big break between. The real goal now is to kind of refocus what everyone's putting on the list. And some people might have put something on the list and now they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense based off of what the new direction is. So feel free to take those things off if that's the case, no big deal. But then we'll kind of have a meeting of heads to decide, does this make sense to have on this list, or should we take it off the list once we kind of have the list more compiled and stuff. And I think, I think that this list can grow pretty quick now that we have a better understanding of what we're looking for.
I will just send an email to the whole group and then tell what I'm going to add, and then have one suggestion on another. Okay?
That sounds great. Thank you.
Just an observation. It looks like there was a lot of thought that went into that plan, and it looks like a great way forward. So thank you. Very helpful.
Thank you. Thanks. I mean, talking with Ken helped us a whole lot. And obviously Kathy's really good at compiling other people's thoughts into something that makes sense. So that was a big help as well.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for giving us those actionable items. I think that has at least helped me feel like, okay, we've got this under control.
Problem. You were all there. I just put it on paper. It was good.
Okay, so nobody else has any other questions, comments that you want to add before we move on here?
I might just jump in real quick. I'm part of one of the nonprofits in Wildwood, representing a church, and there are a lot of activities within the life of our church that are focused upon the church fellowship, but then there are also things that are focused upon helping meet needs in the community. And I think that's going to be where the real genius of this exercise is going to come to bear fruit, is when we realize, well, what are the different nonprofits doing in terms of not just this giving them an opportunity to promote their kids camp or something that but things like we help people with addictions to alcohol, or we have something for those who are going through grief. Maybe another one has financial coaching. Another might have connections, to assist with food or, rent, those who might be dealing with unemployment. So I guess, as a representative of a nonprofit, I would just say it'll be very important that we're clear, particularly with the churches, that we're really looking for you to tell us those areas of your organization that are community focused, as opposed to just seeing this as an opportunity to tell us about all the different things that happen in your building. You know what I'm saying? So that I just wanted to clarify that from my perspective, and I think this is going to be so helpful.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good point. We're really focusing on not-for-profits that provide a service to the community more so than, like I'm really big with the ballparks. But in the long scheme of things, are we really providing a great service for the community? I mean, in some ways you could say yes, but in other ways it's also just to have the kids get out and get some exercise and things like that. It's service in a different kind of a way, but it's not in the same way that some of the things that you just mentioned were, Ryan. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think that's another goal of this, is these organizations seeing what each other are doing. And again, for us to say, hey, we have a real need for I don't know, right? People who've lost a spouse or whatever it is, and kind of talking amongst each other as to who might be able to offer that kind of service for our community.
Cool. If nobody else has anything, we can move on. This might actually be a short agenda, Ed.
It's possible. All right, the next item is the discussion of the nonprofit organizations in Wildwood, which we may have kind of covered this, but again, our focus is really trying to understand within our community, one, what do we have? What do we have duplicates of? And I think Member Bowman, just like you're saying, we don't know what all services are each nonprofit is offering. So I think having that conversation, having that meeting is going to be really helpful. But we want to really limit it to Wildwood and kind of focus on our community. And the whole idea, I think what really helped me was when Dr. Remy talked about the college fair idea and looking at, you know, here's this club and what do we offer at our school or in our community, and looking at it that way. So that's the thought there. I don't know, are we wanting to look at SharePoint or just kind of understand that moving forward, this is where we're going?
We can pull it up real quick just to get it. Yeah, Karen, you got a question?
Yeah, I just said, I know we had a list already. Is that list changed? Have you already gone through and deleted things on that list?
We're not deleting things because some people might have an opinion on how it serves the community that we just maybe don't understand. So I want to at least give people an opportunity to express why they put something on the list before we just take it off, if that makes sense. But we do want to just, you know, let people know that we're trying to keep it to stuff that's local as much as possible here.
Well, that's my question. So the things that people put on that weren't actually based in Wildwood, or maybe that just come in and service in Wildwood, is there going to be a distinction between those two?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you saying if it's an organization that serves people in Wildwood but isn't located in Wildwood? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that might be helpful for us to go through and make those decisions together while we're all here. Does that sound okay with everyone?
Yeah. So my question was, will they be things that are like the Lions Club is in the Wildwood Lions Club, but like my organization isn't in Wildwood, but we come in to serve Wildwood when there's a need. So will our list be just the Wildwoods? That's what I'm just trying to figure out.
I think that's the goal, unless there is absolutely nobody that does that, what your organization or whatever does in Wildwood. That would be maybe the exception, but we don't want to necessarily have 4 or 5 food pantries that are outside of Wildwood if there's one already located in Wildwood. We want to kind of focus it to the one that's in Wildwood doing focus. If that helps bring some clarity there.
Okay.
So maybe, Kathy, can you show us how many organizations we have on the list? Oh, there's not that many. So we could even these 16 right now and just say we could fill out column L and M together. Are they in Wildwood or do they serve Wildwood? Can we go through these? I think there's not 50. This won't take us very long.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's great. Should we start at the top? Thank you. Okay. So Wildwood Area Lions Club is obviously in Wildwood, correct? Okay. Pedal the cause.
It comes through Wildwood, but it's not really a Wildwood. It's a cancer research. It helps. It's the money stays in the city in St. Louis, but it's not a Wildwood program.
Okay.
So that's probably one that we would probably remove unless somebody has some big objection to that.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, otherwise we could list every charity that, that is possible.
Louis Oasis. I'm not familiar with that one.
Mara,
Yes.
would it be maybe before we just strike them out and delete them, maybe put them on a different tab? Because I think some of these organizations, we may not know for sure if they do have a focus or if they have done projects in the city. So maybe before we just blow them out, kind of categorize them to someplace else and say, we're looking for those particular areas because they may in turn have an opportunity to help us get something set up if there is a shortfall. So just a thought.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, just color shade those codes.
Yeah, I agree with Ed's point. We do want to make sure though that we're keeping it to things that are geared towards Wildwood and not necessarily that a Wildwood person would go seeking outside of the city. If that makes any sense on how I'm presenting that, I don't want to sound like a jerk.
Well, I'm the one that brought the Pedal the Cause because, first of all, they ride through Wildwood on their they only have one big race. So many bike riders from out here in Wildwood ride in Pedal the Cause. I know my husband, my son are big ones. So it is something it's in Wildwood a lot, but it's not an organization that we benefit from, except for my husband did receive a clinical trial and is living today because of Pedal the Cause. So it's helped us personally, but that's why it was on there. But I'm trying to just see where you guys are putting the different organizations. So
That makes sense.
So the question was about St. Louis Oasis. I don't know if we have the person that added that, but it's an organization that helps older adults in, engage socially to improve health and wellness.
And are they located at St. Louis wide?
It says 63105, so no.
It's Clayton, I think, in there, or is that close? No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's Clayton.
Okay, so maybe we should put that on a maybe list.
But I think Karen's right. I mean, a lot of these organizations, and especially even if you go back and look at their filing tax-wise, they don't have a headquarters located here, but they provide great services. So that's why I think it's going to be a little tougher than just because there's not a lot of things headquartered in Wildwood.
Right. Okay.
Maybe that's the way you answered is, do you provide services to the city of Wildwood? I mean, because that's what we're looking for. The end result are services, whether it's nice that they're part here and they, you can certainly look for membership, but maybe it's do you, as you were doing the questionnaire or something, maybe we ask, do you provide services to residents of Wildwood? And see if that raises some more people. There could be a lot that we may not know where they exist, but they may, be working out of Ellisville and doing things in Wildwood.
Yeah, we just gotta be careful. We don't want to open up the door too much by expanding it too much either, because I'm sure there's lots of people that would service Wildwood, but that's not their primary focus area. If that makes sense, that's where we could get a list of 300 things if we aren't careful.
Yeah. And I think it's a good point.
I think to me, I would look at it the other direction. I would say, if you're a resident of Wildwood and you're looking for some service, do you have it on there? You see my point? Because if it is or isn't in Wildwood, if they service the residents of Wildwood, maybe if you look at it the other direction, if you think about how it's going to be used, I think that's probably the best way to look at it.
Let me give you a point. Now, I know Amy Volmer and I were on the board at Circle of Concern. Circle of Concern is located in Valley Park, but they are the only full service food pantry that serves anyone in the Rockwood School District that meets the qualifications, as well as Parkway or whatever. So to me, I would make a strong case they should stay on, because there's not another one, no one else doing that type of service for this area. And yes, they do have Wildwood clients, and people fall on hard times and need help sometimes. So that is a good one. And it also does another thing for us nonprofits. The more exposure that you get to within, fairs or whatever, it really helps them in fundraising too, because it educates folks. Then they see a need and they say, look, I would like to contribute or get involved or volunteer or whatever. And I think that's the purpose of these. So I think that one is, a prime example. And Ed, I agree with you on that. I think we'll hit a limit of somewhere, on how we go on these, because the further you go into the city, you have tons and tons of charities. And most of those charities are servicing, folks in the city population.
Yeah, and Harry, what I would add to that is they are very good about not overlapping with food pantries. So for example, we used to service just Rockwood in 63026, which was Fenton. We decided to expand to all of 63026. We had to say what food pantry currently services them, and we need to let them know they are no longer, we will now take them in ours because they divide up their service area. So I think we, in that case, like Harry was saying, we are going to be the only official food pantry that services Wildwood. Now, could some other church also have a food pantry? That's very likely. But as far as official food pantries, we would be it that would be serving Wildwood, unless there's an area of Wildwood that does not belong to Parkway, Rockwood, or Valley Park.
No, it's not.
And
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Michelle Becker, you might know this, but there's that Got Your Backpack or Got Your Back program that goes through the elementary schools as well, at least in Rockwood. And Michelle, I don't know if you've ever helped. I know a lot of our neighbors.
I do. Yeah. I'm one of the people that do that regularly, but I don't know much about the setup of it and how families qualify. I just fill the bags.
Honestly, those two don't compete, and they coexist, and they help different populations because, again, I would make a case that each of those could be on because they're definitely serving different populations.
Well, St.
Okay,
Albans,
that's good.
St. Albans with the St. Vincent de Paul Society at St. Albans also has a food bank that helps anyone in the Wildwood area.
Yeah.
That's another, that's out here that doesn't overlap with Circle of Concern, but we do try to meet the immediate needs of people in this area, and they do not have to be members of St. Albans Church.
Yeah. Karen, I think, and I don't know the gentleman that spoke earlier when he was talking about the churches, and I think under St. Albans, that would be a great community service added to the church, along with some of the other things that St. Albans does. I mean, that's not the only thing that they do for his community by any means.
The sports program that church provides for the city.
Yeah. So that could easily be not a standalone, but it would be under the auspices of St. Albans, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that is the goal of the Zoom meetings, is understanding all of that. So maybe we should look at the list and just see, is there anything on here that we think can be or should be eliminated? The ones that we have questions about, maybe perhaps we leave those on there for now, but anything that's really clear, we take off.
I will have one that we will talk. Feed My People is located in High Ridge, and they do not serve any Zips in Wildwood unless they've changed in the past few months. And I'm not sure. They're a great organization. They do great work. It's just that they stop at the area where Circle does not cover.
Okay, so that might be a good one we can take off of this list. Are there any objections to that? Okay. I think somebody else had their hand up and
I put one of the ones I added before we knew the direction of the committee, focusing on diversity. The In Purpose Educational Services is a group that offers assistance to educators or large groups that about racial equity training. And so since that's not really what we're looking for anymore, that one can probably go.
Okay. Are they do not serve Wildwood, is that what?
They are virtual. So yeah.
I would argue it
Serve
should
it.
stay.
Say
You
that.
what?
I would argue it should stay. I don't.
Okay.
I think any racial equity training is a good thing, and it's. Why am I echoing? Sorry. No, I think that we should, if we can, get more diversity
Okay.
in there.
And
just my opinion.
the lady who runs it is amazing, Heather Fleming, and she has all different kinds of courses dedicated to either community leaders or teachers or just people wanting to learn more. And then I did put another one on there. Could somebody scroll down because I forgot what it was called, but the Lifeline program for low-income consumers. So that's a federal program. So they serve everyone, but they don't have a local office. So I didn't know if you wanted to keep that in there or not, but that's for people that can't afford internet and phone. And it's just a federal program to provide those things for people.
I mean, I think we keep that one. I mean, we may have residents that would need that. And if we can point them in a direction, they probably wouldn't even know that exists. I think that's a good one.
Agree.
I'm good with that.
It's especially relevant now because it's not just phone, it's internet too.
Mhm.
Else that is kind of glaring that we should potentially take off?
What about?
No, you
I
can
see
go
it
for it.
of Chesterfield, or is it actually Chesterfield or is it Wildwood? If we're gonna stick with churches that are in Wildwood, for that case, the First Baptist of Chesterfield, I don't know where they are.
They're actually in Wildwood. They're up off of Church Road in
Yes.
our Westland Acres historic community. So they are actually, yeah. And the Westland Acres community is kind of actually geographically split between the city of Chesterfield and the city of Wildwood, but the church is in Wildwood.
Hey,
Got it.
Kathy,
Okay, it said Chesterfield. It threw me off.
I think Kathy, you might be wrong. That Chesterfield, the First Baptist, it's Union Baptist Church that's on Church Road.
You're right.
And this one, First Baptist Church, I think is on the north side of Wild Horse where the cemetery is.
You're right. That by Antioch.
Yes, that's correct. Antioch Baptist is in Chesterfield. A lot of people out of Wildwood live in it, but Union Baptist is the one you're thinking of.
You're right.
Yeah,
'cause it's not Wild
Union
Horse.
Baptist is technically in Chesterfield, but it's right on the edge.
Well, do you want me to? So you're right. This one may
but
have.
But
it
it
may serve
services
people in Wildwood. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It serves people.
Well, why don't I
mean,
add
for those
Union
that are right on the
Baptist?
border, I don't know that we should artificially draw the line like that, right? So
We'll just add Union Baptist Church, and I can leave the other one in. And if you want it out later, you can take it out later.
I think leave them both. They're very simple. They both serve a role for Wildwood residents.
I think it's 63005.
Ed,
Were you trying to say something before?
Oh,
Trying to speak and I missed it.
yeah, I can jump in. So I didn't put anything on there yet, but there have been, so basically through my school district so far, we've been presenting to the Rockwood board and administrators about mental health in our school district. But I was thinking about things that we could do outside of school district. And an organization we've been working with is Archangels Foundation. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but they work to provide free training regarding mental health resources and just education regarding mental health illnesses to not only students, but also adults around the community. I would have to just ask her to see, ultimately, if this is something she'd want to be a part of, which I would almost say 100% she would be. But it would just be more of a formality thing just to ask her. But that has been in place, and it would be ARC space Angels. So just be, yeah, there we go.
Kathy, there are two more that I plan to fill out for Wildwood. One is equine assistant therapy that is located in Wildwood, and they do a lot of great work. A second one would be, and I don't have the contacts here, but somebody in the group may, Avery's Foundation, which is, again, the mental health made me think of that to some degree, because that was a, and I can't think of the last name. I think it's Cantor, if I'm
okay, so
correct.
This is where I'm going to jump in. So I think Archangels was started by Avery Cantor's parents.
Okay.
So I don't know if we're thinking of the same one here. I don't know if there's another one.
They may have a
called Avery's
spinoff or
Foundation.
whatever. Yes.
But yeah.
But Avery's parents still live in Lafayette Trails.
That's great. Does anybody else have anything else they would like Kathy to throw on the list while she's in there right now?
I'm not sure if you guys covered this before, because I noticed at the bottom there's a tab for, youth sport or sports leagues. But Pond Athletic Association is located here within Wildwood. They do youth baseball and softball.
I had a question. I was looking back on Feed My People, and they say they do service 63025. Do they not only serve a portion of that zip code that's not serviced by Circle of Concern? Is that how that works?
I'm 99% sure that it may be worth checking out. There's a few, and again, in the 25 zip, there's just it's pretty sparsely populated, but I'll double check.
Okay. 63025 is the one that starts like at Hidden Valley, kind of goes south into Eureka. Yeah.
Yes. I do know they have cooperated in the past, and I will double check on that. Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else have anything they want to add? So just a reminder, yeah, if there's any nonprofit in Wildwood that you come across between now and next meeting, let's get them on the list. We can at least invite them to participate if they want to, or they can make that choice. But that would be helpful.
Maybe I was just wondering has everyone had success in getting access to update this? You might want to go through that.
Are you saying you've had problems getting access to it?
I'm ashamed to admit as an IT veteran that maybe I didn't try hard enough, but I wasn't able to access. I think it's a combination of my existing ID, but.
Well, if you all would prefer, and it's probably easier, SharePoint is really easy when you're in the same organization, but when you're not, it stumbles a little bit. So if you all would prefer, I can just send an email with it as an attachment. And as you fill it in, we can just email it back, and we'll just copy and paste into the master list. So I think that might be a little easier.
I mean, I like SharePoint, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it maybe for those that had, I'll figure it out because I'm just.
I'm going to send it to you anyway.
But for those that I'm just I'm just thinking that if I had some trouble, I'm sure some others might have had some trouble. So.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brian. My work computer won't let me go into SharePoints for other organizations. It was a big no-no. So to get onto an actual laptop that's not on my work network was not
Right,
easy.
yeah, so maybe we just have, Kathy, maybe we just allow both ways or something, you know?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I won't take it down from SharePoint. I'll leave it there. So if you get in and want to add it there, that's great. If not,
I will figure it out just because I'm stubborn, but yeah, I appreciate it.
you're like me, the computer will not beat me. Yeah.
All right, if we don't have anything else, we got the public participation. Is there anybody waiting in the waiting room that would like to speak? You can use the raise hand feature or chat.
Councilmember Flasher.
You said there's nobody?
Mr. Co-Chair, would you all mind if the Department of Planning and Parks added some items to the list?
I'd love that.
Okay, thank you.
I think a valuable resource of the city is that you guys are a little more plugged in than everybody else is as far as what's out there. And so I think that'd be a really big help to have you add anything. And we can always debate it if we don't think that it should be on there, but it is nice to hear of other organizations that we didn't know were there. So thanks.
Well, no, thank you. I just didn't want to assume that we should be adding things because some of them might not be appropriate, but they certainly are organizations that function in Wildwood. So thank you.
Yeah, I think at this point, we just want to compile as many non-for-profit organizations as we possibly can that are servicing or located, especially within Wildwood, so that we can then, as a group on our next meeting, go through it like we did today and figure out what belongs and doesn't belong before we then invite people to come for that face-to-face, or I guess, virtual face-to-face.
So there are a couple people, but I'm not seeing any hands raised. So I think there are no public comments.
Great, thank you for that.
Moving on, are there other matters for consideration? Yes, Joe.
Madam Co-Chair, Mr. Co-Chair, and members of the task force, before the majority of you came on tonight, the small group of us were talking about a departure. This will be Miss Arnett's last meeting with the task force. She's leaving the city of Wildwood. And so for all intents and purposes, we're going to have a big hole to fill. But if you have any questions or need anything, I would just ask that you email me or contact me, and Mr. Cross and I will do the best to fill that hole or gap. We won't be able to, but we'll do our best. And so again, I'll send out to all of you our emails and our telephone numbers so that if you have any questions or any needs before our next meeting, someone will be here to answer the phone, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I appreciate you sending that out so we have that. And Kathy, I just found this out today, and I am so sad to know that we're leaving you, but I do want to say thank you so much for guiding both Dan and I by the hand on this. So thank you so much. You will be missed.
Welcome. Well, thank you. I will miss all of you too. I'll miss the people for sure. And I will make sure you get that spreadsheet before I'm gone. So don't you worry.
Thanks.
So the next thing on our agenda is the next steps for the task force. I think we've conveyed that pretty well here today, but you're going out there, you're looking for non-for-profits, adding it to the list as much as you can, with the mindset that, hey, we're going to kind of have a little light debate about some of this stuff at the next meeting. So we can figure out how we want to move forward before our Zoom face-to-face. Does anybody have any questions on any of that stuff? Perfect.
Just a reminder, our next meeting is May 11th at 5 p.m., which in the middle of this snow feels really far away, but kind of nice.
And I believe that brings us to adjournment. If anyone wants to make a motion, but before we do, Kathy, once again, thank you so much. You've been so helpful, so guiding in this whole thing, and I've really appreciated the brief little bit I've gotten to know you through council on this. So thank you very much, and you will be missed.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to adjourn, Mrs. Amy.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Amy. Thank you, Harry. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? All right, I think we're good to go. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you in 3 months, and we'll probably be talking to you through email a little bit as this whole process goes as well. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.